Stephanie. Welcome back to our Saturdays with CBI Connect. I'm super excited to be back with you guys again today. If you've seen our posts leading up to today, our topic today is salient features. That's kind of a big one, as are most of our characteristics when we're looking at CBI. So there could be a lot to cover. If you guys have questions, feel free to comment. As always, I've got a few things that I wanted to share with you. And if we get a chance to cover all of my things, great. I'd much rather answer any questions that you guys have, though. So feel free to jump in and let me know where you guys are coming from today. As you can see, it's really sunny today in Michigan. I'm super excited when I'm done here to go outside and play with the kids and soak up that sun as much as we can before the snow hits. Sounds like we need a big winter this year. So don't know where you guys are coming from, but I love the winter. So for me, it's okay. But not so much for everybody else. So a lot of people are looking at me like I'm crazy when I get excited about the snow that we're going to get this winter. So let me know where you're coming from. Let me know that you're here. Give me a little hello. And like I said, if you have any questions as I'm going through some stuff, or just things that are burning in your child or your student's situation right now that you guys are in. Since I last saw you guys a couple weeks ago, I've met a lot of new students on my caseload, and I'm super excited about that. We talked a lot about back to school and different concerns that might come up, and slowly brainstorming through some of those with my different teams and different buildings that the kids are in, and how we're going to address those needs as they come up this year. So I'm working on a lot of that with my own teams. But I'm excited to get to know these kids a lot better and spend some more time with them and their teams. Lots of evaluations going on, working with some of my awesome coworkers to do our CBI range assessments. Remember, if you don't have somebody on your team that is CBI endorsed, or anyone that really knows anything about CBI, to check out Perkins' website. They have that list there of who is endorsed and closest in your area. And when we register there, we have the ability to say what we're willing to do to help out with people in the area and things like that. So definitely reach out. I know myself, I want to make sure that as many kids as I can help as possible. So I'm guessing if somebody went through the trouble to get the endorsement, that it means a lot to them and that they want to help too. So reach out and just see what that experience might be like. And after talking to them, if you're just not getting the vibe, then you don't have to go through with it. But it might be worth looking into, just something to start with. Kind of go from there. If you guys need the resources, you guys can get Dr. Roman's books and take the classes. There are several parents who are also endorsed and find that valuable for them with their child's team. We're helping out with other children's teams. So do what you can. You got to get out there and we got to break it down, right? Teachers, same to you. Get out there and get that. See if your school will be willing to support you with that. Maybe some schools, I know, depending on their financial situation, they may or may not be able to help you with that application, but definitely worth looking into and asking. You never know until you try. So that's my little plug for Perkins today, because I just love that we have that opportunity now that we didn't before. So, and even if you aren't familiar with, maybe you're not ready for taking the endorsement test yet, there's lots of classes available. So between videos like this, there's YouTube videos by Dr. Roman that you can link into for resources, and Perkins has their classes, which is where you're going to get the bulk of your information and really understanding this whole world that is CBI for our kids and how it's never going away. This is something that they're going to have to figure out and how to work through for their entire life, and we need to make sure that we're arming them with the tools and ways to advocate for themselves, so that when they're running into those new environments or those situations that they're not really sure what's going on, that we're arming them with the tools that they need to be successful, not just through school, but through their work life and how they're going to manage that from now on. So like I said, today I want my topic to be kind of focused around salient features. That doesn't mean if you guys have other questions, we can't answer those. That's just kind of the topic that I wanted to address today. This came up because I've seen a lot of posts and questions in the community, just in general, about how we address salient features and what's the right way, what's the wrong way, and things of that nature. And we're all trying to figure this out together, right, and trying to navigate this world and what's right for our kids. So the biggest thing that you want to ask yourself is, the question, how do you know? So you are trying to teach your child what a giraffe is, and you need to say, well, how do you know? How do you know that's a giraffe? And that's kind of where it's going to stem from, picking those words, those choices, those descriptors that are going to describe what the giraffe is and how do you know. So I was actually at my daughter's gymnastics class a couple weeks ago, and my daughter was playing with her giraffe. Let me grab that. She's playing with her little. My younger one was playing with her little giraffe while her older sister was in class. And this little boy in the row in front of us said, "Look, Dad, giraffe." And he goes, "No, that's not a giraffe. That's a cow." And the boy goes, "No, it's a giraffe." And he goes, "Well, how do you know?" And so he put that on his son to try to come up with the words for how do you know this is a giraffe. And I thought, in my brain, I've got CBI on my mind all the time, like, oh my gosh, this is a great way, like, throw this at somebody else. And like, we get stuck sometimes. Like, giraffe might be easier for most of us. We've talked about like the long neck and the long legs, and we've got the ossicones at the top. And so that one might be a little bit easier for you. But when you get stuck in your world, like, just take something to somebody and go, "What is that?" How do you know? And see what they come up with. See what kinds of words that they say. And, if you were to hold up a horse to them and they were to say, "Well, it has 4 legs," so you can say, "Oh, so does my giraffe. Does that make this a horse?" No. So what is different? What makes this one a horse and this one a giraffe? And how do I know which one's which? They both have a mane on the back of their neck. They both have hair there. So that's really not because this one we know is horse and this one we know is giraffe, but why? Why do we know them that way? And so then you have to start to compare them. And that is huge. Dr. Roman will always talk about that comparative language. How do we know which one is which? Why? What's different about them? And it's really important that we build in that language too, and not just, that we talk about what it is, that it has a long neck and that it has long legs, but how do we compare it to other things that we already know? So if your child knows a horse and totally understands horseness, as Dr. Roman would say, how do we know what's different about something else that I don't know? So that way when they're retrieving that file from their brain, they can pull from that knowledge bank that they already have and build that comparison. So the more that we're comparing each little thing, the more that you're also building a deeper definition of what we want them to actually know, right? So that's not just within from like similar objects, but also within other things in your environment. So for example, let me pull up one of our activities that we have. And Dr. Roman has a great YouTube video, if you haven't watched that already, that talks a lot about salient features and comparative language. So if in this little blurb video today you feel like you still want more, let me know. I can post that in the comment box and you guys can watch that YouTube video too. I think that's a great resource to listen to her right from her mouth and hear what she has to say. But we try to make activities on the app that are going to build that comparative language like I talked about. Hold on one second. So for example, here's our elephant activity. And so we add the story sometime at the bottom just so that it can make it more, gotta get it in the right spot, mirror image. Okay. We add that in the bottom just to add more excitement and not make it just always work as much as we can. We're trying to make more game-like activities for you guys to make it more fun, not work, because all of my research as an early childhood person says play, 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 right? So trying to build in that play so that the kids will retain it a lot more when you're practicing it. Hi, Lisa. Oh, I will definitely post that, okay? Let me get this going and then I will post that for you. So here we've highlighted the salient features, which we hear a lot about. And I chose to zoom in on the elephant when I did it so that you're really only looking at that one part of the elephant, which is, for me, a great way to really highlight that area. But it's also important, you'll see in a second, that we go back out and then talk about them again. And in the story, it's going to give you some of those comparative language opportunities. It talks about that an elephant's going to flop around their ears. And so now it's curved, and it talks about how it's curved. And then this is what I really like about this activity, is it's going to show the elephant hole like I talked about, and it still has the ear highlighted, and you can draw that shape. But now think about a child who's learning about their letters and literacy. And so Dr. Roman has told us to use the comparison with not only the shapes and that it's a long trunk and that it can sometimes be curled under like it was before, and sometimes it can be straight, and talking about that comparison within itself, but also that this looks like an L because it's a straight line down. And so you're comparing that letter thought again and trying to build in that literacy component to help build that knowledge base. What is that letter look like? Does this look like a U the way it droops down with the big floppy ear? So that would give us that comparison thought if that's something that you're working on as well. And we have it again, it's curled up the other way. So now the trunk looks like the letter U the way it's curled around, and you can actually build that as well. And so you've got lots of opportunities to do that. And then we add scenes like this where she's talking about she's playing with her friend, but how can you tell which one I am? Remember, we might both be gray and fat, but only one of us has big floppy ears and a long trunk. So you're reminding them of that salient feature that only one has the floppy ears and the long trunk as you're looking at the two of them. This wasn't built to try to trick a child. This was built to try to use that comparative language so they can see two similar things side by side, but only one has the salient feature we've been talking about through the rest of the book. And then if you get here and this is too overwhelming, you notice whether it's through your look detection data that you're collecting or through your own observations when you're working with the child one-on-one, that this is just beginning to be too complex with two images on the screen, depending where you're at on the CDI range, that might be too overwhelming. So then that's where you decide that maybe this page, the page before that, is your last page of the book, and then you talk about LAV elephant and maybe you move on from there. Or maybe you get to here and you cover one up, so you only are looking at one of them at a time. So you can still maybe do the comparison, but you're having to make some on-the-fly modifications too. If it's something, this is a book you guys really love with your child, send Juliana a message and we can try to copy these behind the scenes and make them a little bit easier for you too. If that's what we need to do, we would be happy to modify things the best that we can for you. So let me show you another one. Let me get out of here. That we use to do some comparative. I had a student who knew where in the school the bathrooms were, but when he got there, the men's and the women's bathroom signs were right next to each other. And so he really needed to practice what the men's restroom sign was. So we built in an activity into the app. And so he would, in the classroom, we would talk about the salient features beforehand, and he would look at just this image. Then we would, oops, I have to press start. Oops, user error. Then I highlighted that in the men's restroom sign that they're straight down, right? And so we go through that whole thing. I even put in different pictures because, every restaurant or place you go to might be different. And then I have them side by side. How do I know which one it is? And then we actually have it flipped in the next one so that if he's right hand dominant and he's always clicking on the right hand side, I can kind of pause that hand and kind of reevaluate the whole thing and go behind the scenes a little bit more to figure it out. And I can kind of flip back and forth between the two to ensure I know he knows which one is which before I send him on his way to go to the bathroom, and make sure he knows that he's going to the right one. We would also go together to that door and have the iPad with us and do that comparison. Again, I can just click the back button, go back to where it's highlighted, and we can look at the highlighted one and look at the sign physically on the wall and have that comparison back and forth. Is this a match? Is it not? And have that conversation with each other so that I can help build that knowledge base for him so he can go to the bathroom on his own. He can go in on his own. He knows what he's doing once he's in there, but it was just getting, once he's there, which one do I go in? Because how embarrassing saying you don't want to go on the wrong one. No one does. I don't want to go on the wrong one. Unless I got it. I'm just kidding. If I have the same thing for the women's bathroom too, so obviously I need one for each, so that you could use either one. We have lots of number videos or number activities, letter activities to talk about the salient features of those. If you're in a moment where you're kind of stuck and you're like I said earlier, you don't know what salient feature you are looking for, you're not sure what it is, you've asked somebody, how do you know this is a zebra? How do you know what this is? And you're not really getting the response that you feel like is a true salient feature. It's not something you can listen to because this is a horse and it says neigh in real life, but this one is not neighing. So this is still a horse even though it's not making that sound. So you're not looking for what sounds does it make. You can add that in as extra knowledge that you want to teach them if you're doing animals, but that isn't what makes it that item. A car can be off and still be a car, even though it's not making a sound of an engine. So you need to figure out what visually is the feature that makes it that item, right? So, brain fart, what is his name? Matt Teachin has started building a library or a dictionary, if you will, of the salient features, and that's another great resource. If you haven't had that one, I can post that up here as well in a second in the comments for you guys. And that's a great place for us as a community to kind of collaborate together and figure out what salient features we want to define those as. My biggest thing is that my team, people that are working with that child need to be on the same page. And so that's the other reason that I like to have the words in the activities that we're designing for you guys, so that anyone using that activity is using the same language and it's not being confused every single time. We're not changing how we're describing something. That's only going to make it more confusing. We want to try to all be on the same page. So I try my best in anything that I design. If it's physical picture, we're working from 3-dimensional to 2-dimensional with a kid, I might put it on the back so that the child isn't getting overwhelmed by too much being on that front page. I don't need a border and words and everything else. So if I need that to be on the back of a physical picture, I'll do that. Whatever, you got to work with that child and see what their needs are. But making sure that the whole team almost has like a script so that we're all on the same page. Let me just double check through my notes, see if there's anything that I missed. Once you feel like your child has mastered the idea of that one original item, like I was showing you the elephant earlier, the next thing you want to do from there is to show them other elephants that are slightly different and see if they're still capturing that elephantness. So we did the same thing with our cat activity. Let me show you that one too. Well, this all making sense to everybody? Does anyone have any questions as I'm running through this? Like I said, I'm going to post that video from Dr. Roman because she'll really go into why comparative language is so important and where we get that from. I love that video from her. All of her videos, all of her information is awesome, right? That's what we're doing here. So we've talked about, in the first one, we highlight the salient features of the cat. If you haven't seen that one, let me know. But then here we're trying to figure out, this is the original cat that we used. And we talked about the triangle-shaped ears and the whiskers. And it was just that one cat on the page. But now we did others, but we included one that is not. It's a dog. And so we want to see, can you find all of the cats? I wouldn't say, can you find 3 cats? Because that's telling the child how many are there. I would just say, can you find all of the cats? And so if the child just pointed to these 2, then I would, okay, great. I see you picked this one. It also has the triangle-shaped ears and the whiskers, right? You talk about that so that you understand why they picked it. But if they're not identifying this one, which has a red underneath it, or maybe the background's a little bit more complex because it's not just the animal, that would tell me maybe I need to give 4 choices without backgrounds and see if we can figure out if that's the issue. Weed out the other characteristics that might be in the way and make sure we're still understanding what's a cat. If they're choosing one that's not, let's say they choose the dog, then you need to have that conversation as best as you can, given speech. I know obviously some of this is a little bit different for each kid. But if they pick the dog, you could say, oh, okay, now in your head, you're not just going to say, no, that's a dog. You want to figure out, why did they choose this one? What part of that is similar to the cat that may have been confusing to them? So, oh, I see, they both have two eyes. You're right, they both have a nose. And the dog might have a little bit of whiskers. This one I can't really see very well, but I do know that, some dogs have more defined whiskers than others, but not really like cats do. That's a little bit different. Cats, if you see the lines there, the cat's whiskers are much more defined. And see his ears? Are those the triangles really pointy on the top of his head? Have that comparison back and forth between the salient features you said made it a cat and what this dog looks like, and really help the child weed that out, right? So then when he looks at it, he or she's gonna look at that picture and go, oh no, that doesn't have a triangle. You want them to go through that in their head and compare, does this have all of those features, or am I just hitting anything on the screen? Again, if it's because there's 4 of them, then show them a dog in isolation. If you need me to post that one on the activity list, be happy to, okay? Let us know what we can do to make that a little bit easier. So if your child can't do these 4 and you want them to be in a row where I just have them like toggled like a next button down here, but you're flipping through them. And again, you're saying find the cat, but it's one picture at a time because of complexity. Not a problem. Just let us know and I can be happy to do it for you. I just haven't had the need for it yet. And so I'm working on other activities in the meantime. But Julie and I are always looking to make activities that you guys need, just like the activities that we've designed so far have been designed based on what our students need. So just let us know what we can do for you guys. I hope that makes sense. As you guys are going through, if you have any other questions, you can still use this thread as your salient feature questions. You can always go onto our website at cbiconnect.co and reach out to us there. Lots of places. If you are currently a user, the best way to get a hold of Julie and I, let me go back to my homepage here. Okay, so here is your homepage. If you are a user of the app, you have this messages feature, and this is the best way to get a hold of Julie and I directly. That way it links directly to your account, and we can answer your questions based on your son or daughter, and we have, or your student, and we have all of the previous messages all in one place for us. So if we've been talking about the way that your child really needs it to be a blue outline, and a lot of our activities use red and yellow for outlining salient features, and you need that something different on the elephant activity, let's say, just let us know and we can design it. And if it's directly linked to your account, that makes it easier for us. So again, that is on that homepage, right above the yellow activity bar, there is the messages app right there. Okay. That's all I have for you guys today. I don't want to take up any more time of your Saturday. I hope you guys have great plans. Enjoy the nice weather if you have it. If not, stay warm, stay dry. Have a great weekend, everybody. We'll see you soon.